Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Meteorologist Hutch Johnson joining you. We do have a risk of severe storms today and a new severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to cover everything so you know what you need to know here as we begin our day. First things first, the morning line of storms not expected to bring widespread severe, but we do have a severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to get to that first, and we're also going to look at this area of risk for later today. We'll have more on that in just a second. Here is a look at the area of risk in yellow. The areas in yellow is a level 2 on a 5-level scale of a risk of severe storms later this afternoon. Now, these storms here in the afternoon could bring all modes of severe weather. We're talking very large hail, 2 inches or more in diameter, gusty winds that will be extremely strong, over 70 miles per hour. Those would be those straight line winds, and tornadoes, all risks. But for now, let's talk about the storms moving in. Notice we don't have a lot of thunder and lightning going on up north, but believe it or not, that is where the warning is. So for this update, I'm going to turn off the risk area, and we're going to turn on the warning so you can see what's going on there. Good morning, Nathan. Good to have you on board again. If you have a question or want to let me know what's going on, holler right now. Here we do have a line of storms. My guess is this is for gusty straight line winds. Do you see this backward C shape? Plus, these cells are moving at about 60 miles per hour. So Grand Forks, the storms are rumbling and moving right into your area. But for Cavalier and for the areas near Langdon, 70.75 inch hail and some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts will be possible from this cell. The National Weather Service has its movement off to the east here, as you can see, at 30 miles per hour. The individual cells are moving a little faster than that, and 60-mile-per-hour winds is the main threat from that particular storm. So stay away from windows as this windy storm approaches, and let me get you the idea of when a couple of these cells will be where they're moving. So they're over Cavalier now, heading into Hallock. Again, moving east at 30, I'm going to put them at 35 miles per hour. We'll give you some timing on these. They're quite a ways away from Greenbush, about 60 miles away, but that's not going to take 2 hours to get there. Some of these cells were showing indications to me moments ago when I was looking at them that they were moving at about 40 to 50 miles per hour, but we'll go ahead and take this 38 mile per hour estimate here and take a look. Okay, so in Hallock, in 23 minutes, this very windy line of storms will be near you. Notice, not a lot of lightning showing up on the lightning network from these. These are thunder showers, but their outflow is causing some very strong winds. That's the main threat. Lake Brunson, 43 minutes away. So in Hallock, the time now, 9:07 a.m. You add the 23, that's 10, that's 9:30. So Hallock, the heaviest of the thunderstorm and the winds will be moving into you by 9:30. That'll continue on towards Carlstad, but on the order of about an hour away. Now let's take a look down in the Grand Forks area. We do have these storms moving into you and Drayton. It's over you right now with some heavy rain. There's a little break in the action from Grafton down to near Warren. But as we get into Grand Forks, you're on the north side of this next wave. This one has a backward C shape, indicating again some gusty west winds will be a possibility with this particular line of storms. This one is not severe, and boy, can you hear the rumbling of thunder out in Fargo right now. It sounds like somebody's bowling up in the sky. Heard some thunder in North Fargo 10 minutes ago, says Alan Clarine. Good to have you on board. So if you're in Thompson and Reynolds and even Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, there's a pretty windy line of storms making their way to the east. Now, as we go ahead and turn on, somebody was asking on a post I made here, what are all of the dots? So let me show you what you're looking at here. The Doppler radar, the National Weather Service's Doppler radar, that's the same radar that you see on every broadcast screen, comes from the National Weather Service office. The radar's located in Mayville. That radar locks in and onto individual thunderstorm cells. So each one of those is a thunderstorm cell. On average, thunderstorms tend to be about 10 miles in diameter. The lines tell us what the latest radar estimate of movement is. Now, if we click on a couple of these puppies, including the one moving in on Grand Forks, do you see the estimated movement east at 64 miles per hour? that storm is moving probably closer to 45 miles per hour, but as they develop, as they go, the radar tends to get confused on new cells on how fast they're moving. So that's one of the caveats of these. But it does give us, by looking at these white arrows, a real clear indication of the line movement of these storms. So this storm will be moving into Grand Forks in the coming moments. It's likely windy there now with rain moving in. Heaviest rain is moving right over the I-94 corridor just south of Grand Forks right now, and that storm's not severe. Here's the strongest cell on the radar. This is why we're hearing the rumbles. Look at all of the lightning here. This is southern Cass County and into northern Richland County. And here we have one just south of Fargo. So we have three individual thunderstorm cells here that are working their way off to the east. This one has been capable at times of at least nickel-sized hail as it's moved through the Enderlin area. And this storm movement, estimated by the radar, is 35 to 40 miles per hour. Let me give you a hint as to where this one's traveling, and then we'll take a quick look at that forecast for you for the later event today that could bring some very strong storms and the risk of severe increases later today. We're talking in the late afternoon and early evening hours. This storm here is the core of it, moving off to the east. It's moving at I'm going to pop it up to 40 miles per hour. So that'll give us some delay in broadcasting time for you to prepare. Colfax in 19 minutes from now. So you can take 20 and add it to this, and it's about, 32 minutes after 9 o'clock. Out Galchute. For those of you down in the Galchute area, about 24 minutes. Abercrombie, about 29 minutes away. So southeast North Dakota, you are in the track of these storms right here. These will be moving in the general direction of, pardon me, while I take and turn that tool off, Abercrombie. But if you are in areas north of Morton and north of Wahpeton, there is a portion of this cell that'll be heading towards you as well. This one has this little appendage on the bottom side. I'm going to take a look at the winds blowing out of this storm. I'm not seeing a lot of shear or spin in the storm that's really intense or strong. That's good news. So this morning's storms are really just more or less very windy, potential for wind. And these storms here in southeast North Dakota in the Richland County area do have a chance at producing some hail. Let's take a look here at some wind measurements coming out of these storms. Heard some thunder again. Yeah, we definitely do have some thunder moving through. All right, let's get to your forecast. There's a blue box drawn around most of northern parts of Polk County, Thief River Falls. That is for this entire line of storms. The National Weather Service says because of this backward C-shape, the gusty nature of the winds is going to be quite strong with these storms. Gusty winds could knock down tree limbs and blow around insecure objects. And these winds from any of those storms have a chance to be up to around 50 miles per hour, simply because of the speed of movement of these storms. If they burp out any wind at all that reaches the ground, they're going to be at least 50 miles per hour. So let's keep mind of that. I'm going to check just one more source for my wind information here from the North Dakota Agricultural Network, and I'll just look offline and see if I see anything that's concerning from any of these storms. My current wind gusts are over 40 miles per hour measured off the ground up near the Kitson County area. So the warned storm is producing winds right now that have been measured at 40 miles per hour. Let's look up a little bit higher and see if I've got some measurements. I do not. And if I take a look at the gusts from those, yes. As these storms moved over the Langdon, Walhalla area out here, the winds above the ground at about 30 feet above the ground were measured to be quite strong. Let me put this up and you can see. So this storm definitely has that potential to create some very gusty winds in places across the Northern Valley. So just off the ground, the radar is measuring some winds that are upwards of, 55 to 60 miles per hour. Here's a look at that from the North Dakota Agricultural Network. Here where you see these pink shades or purple shades, it's measuring 56 mile per hour winds on the Towner County line there with our friends off to the east, not far from Walhalla. So that is the storm that's causing the winds to gust very strongly. We do have some gusts that reach pretty high today down to this morning to the south as well. If we take a look at the current gusts, see if I can get that one. I can look at the current winds at this level in the atmosphere. And you can see we're not noticing a lot of strong winds from the cells down to the south. at the present time. So that's good news. All right, let's go back. There's your 7-day planner. We're going to now focus real quickly on what I am expecting with regards to the afternoon storms. For that, we're going to pop up, and here comes the thunder and lightning in South Fargo. There's some bolts showing up from North Fargo through Horace. So Horace, you're probably getting some pretty good rain right now from that cell making its way through your neck of the woods. And again, this one's going to miss the whoops, I didn't pull up the radar. That's Hutch's bad. Let's take a look. This cell here mainly skirting the southern branches of Fargo-Moorhead, so we're not going to get the brunt of this thunderstorm cell as it works its way through. We'll be watching for more chances of rain and thunder tonight. This cell here could be producing, see that one in the circle? This is the radar estimating around an inch or more of hail. Inch in diameter, I should say, not an inch deep. So keep in mind that this storm is really skirting or flirting with severe criteria as it moves towards Walcott and Abercrombie. Not a guarantee that it's going to be producing hail that particular size. I'll take a look at one more radar product here, and I'll see if I can see any evidence of some real large hail with this particular cell. I am not seeing it at that level. Doesn't mean it's on, but let's take a look at this one more time. Okay, no spin of significance in that particular storm, just some very, very weak broad rotation with the cell. So the main threat with that one's going to be hail up, I'll say up to 1 inch in diameter, close to a quarter in size, and some gusty winds could burp out of that storm as well. We have a couple of thunder cells forming out here just on the east side of Carrington, on the east side of New Rockford, there in the Foster, Eddy County area. These are all moving off to the east, so these will have a shot at skirting Grand Forks again in about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. But here goes the main event coming through now as we go through about that 9:20 time frame. So that's a look at what's going on now. We're going to pop the cork on the forecast model here, and we're going to look at this latest high resolution model. So here's our morning convection. We'll go ahead and get the one that goes out into the evening here. This one might do, but I'm going to go back 1 hour here. Okay, so here is a look at the model showing the morning convection, showing that as these storms move off to the east, they'll be moving through the valley now, pressing into northwest Minnesota and kind of taking a right-hand turn. See that? Moving east, and then boom, they kind of dive south. These really fizzle out at 1900 hours in Europe. Okay, so that's the time in Europe. You have to subtract 5 from this on the computer model to get our time. 19 minus 5. Let's see, I think that's 14. That's around 2 in the afternoon. Now, here's south winds around an area of low pressure in South Dakota. This is really going to boost the heat and the humidity in the Southern Valley in particular, southern Minnesota. And as that happens, we'll have a chance for some very unstable air here in the south, and there's going to be some shear or spin in the atmosphere as well. Thunderstorms reform up here in the north the way it's looking now. This was also, if you remember my morning forecast, this is similar to the models we were seeing earlier today and late last night. Thunderstorms forming here. Any of these could be severe with all modes of severe weather possible. Very large hail, 2 inches in diameter. Rotating storms could produce a chance at some tornadoes as well as we go through, particularly these ones forming and moving down through central parts of Minnesota. I'll show you why I say that. As we go into the evening, these are out of here before midnight, and by out of here, they're out of central Minnesota. So these will race through this evening. The estimated time of arrival for these storms, they start to fester up at around 2200. So that's about 1800 hour locally. That's 6 p.m. So around the dinner hour, 4 to 6 p.m., these storms could start firing and moving off to the east. Again, all modes of severe weather will be possible. Stick to Hutch's weather for the latest updates. Let me see if I have questions from you. Another tornado alley. Why not, Hutch? Why is that? Another tornado alley, Walcott area. Northwood, Marshall County, straight line, south of Fargo. Yeah. The storms this morning are moving off to the east, and tonight's risk of severe storms will be in the area. So keep that in mind. Why they are more prone to be down in the Southern Valley and in towards places like Ottertail County. There could be something to that with regards to the climate of the area and the area's chances. But by and large, we've all had strong tornadoes in this region from north of the border in Polk County all the way down through the Southern Valley. It's just really pick of the litter if you will. So thunderstorm chances. Will the storms, AM storms, come to Hawley? They're going to be south of Hawley. We could have some rain showers or sprinkles, but the main event storms right now are near Sabin and moving off to the east. So I'm not thinking, Jessica, that Hawley has a good chance of morning thunderstorms. Yeah, riding the lightning, Patrick. That's what we're doing. If you know the reference there, you know the reference there. And I like it. Okay, let's take a look now at our, we looked at the forecast. Why do we have all these risks of severe weather? We're going to take this very same model that's up here behind Hutch. I'm going to turn on two parameters. The first parameter will be the rising motion of the air and how much energy is in the atmosphere. So we're going to look at that real quick. And the rising energy in the atmosphere from the ground up. This is a computer generated forecast of where the energy peaks. Notice this sharp cutoff line into central Minnesota. This is as we go through lunch hour. As we go into the afternoon, this risk of rising energy of the air extends from eastern North Dakota into central and particularly southern Minnesota. Did you notice that the models did not put a lot of thunderstorms down here? It may be too hot in a few places. It may be too hot up here. Rising bubbles of air, we have plenty of energy for this air to rise up. But when it starts rising, sometimes it runs into a lid or a cap. That's what we call a cap. When the air up above us gets too hot, there's going to be a cap down in the southern part of the valley. But here in this transition zone, there very well could be some storms that release and we get some large thunderstorm activity. So models are saying the best chance of some of that is where we have cooler air in the upper levels of the atmosphere up in the north. So there's a very good chance of storms forming up north because the air aloft will be cooler. Down south, it's a limited proposition, but when one fires and if one fires, it could be very nasty. A lot of rising motion down here could be capable of producing, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say over 3-inch diameter hail in a few of these storms just because of the amount of energy there. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the spin in the storm and why do we have a risk of tornadoes, and we'll show you. I think I even saw that there's a very familiar storm chaser coming up to Minnesota today to track what could be what this individual said would be large and strong or violent tornadoes. This is the tornado index. This is where all the ingredients are there. It's like having all the ingredients that you need to make lutefisk. Okay, you can have your butter, you can have your pot of boiling water, you can have your lutefisk, and still every time Hutch tries, that stuff does not taste good. So we can't always make good lutefisk, even though we have all the ingredients. We have all the ingredients here for very, very strong storms, and the tornado index is quite high in these areas that you see the red. See it explode as we go into the evening hours. These colors indicate even a greater risk for those tornadoes. So there they are. This is out between St. Cloud and Fargo, Alexandria, and in this entire area. Notice we have a tornado index that's enhanced this evening where storms are forming up north. So Hutch will be watching these very closely. Stay informed if storms form tonight. Notice that the tornado risk is not excessively high up to the north where we had previous tornadoes up in that north of Brainerd area near Aitkin. Okay, this is really going to focus on southern Minnesota today. Okay, we do have that risk making its way through our area with those little dots of spin. So those will be there. Just woke up. What's going on? We have a severe thunderstorm warning up in the northern border counties for gusty winds. Those storms have produced about 30 feet off the ground. We've measured winds over 55 miles or over 50 miles per hour, close to severe criteria. So there is a risk for severe weather up north. Nobody can make good lutefisk, Patrick says. That's probably the case, but there are some folks that really like it, including my dad. Hi, Dad. I hope you're doing well today. Let's see. Happy Monday, John Bowen. Thank you so much. Appreciate having you here today, and Kelly as well. That's a look at the morning weather. In conclusion, the afternoon storms that form tonight into the early nighttime hours could be quite strong, very large hail, very gusty straight line winds, and a chance for even some tornadic activity tonight, particularly on the Minnesota side of the river. This model showed, last night I went over a comparison of models. We'll look at one more model here too. because one model showed a little bit more widespread growth. No model does a real great job of showing us exactly where tornadoes or thunderstorms can form. They just can't do that. But what they can do is give us an idea of the area where they may form. So here's your morning convection going through. This is out of here by the time we get to around just after lunch. That's going to allow the Southern Valley to really warm up. It's going to get humid, and then afternoon and evening storms start forming. So here we go. These storms kind of never take a break. They go through here's the morning stuff. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm on the right model here. Oh, this one's just coming in. That's why I'm not seeing it. We're going to have to go back. So some of these models are brand spanking new, and they're not going out far enough because it's still doing the calculations. Here's our morning convection. That's out of here. And then we get a break. Things heat up. The atmosphere destabilizes. And boom, storms, Fargo, Southern Valley, and out to the east. So I will highlight on the radar one last time here as we get ready to go where the risk is the greatest today. And when we take a look at the Storm Prediction Center, here's your current warning, thunderstorm warning that continues. It looks like maybe I got a new update from the Weather Service here. A new severe thunderstorm warning. Okay. All right, very good. Let's take a look at the severe thunderstorm warning does continue for the Kitson County area. That windy line of thunderstorms should be making its way through your area right now. The warning, though, does expire in 3 minutes. So we haven't heard a lot from measurements up there. If you have any reports, please pass those along, and I'll pass those along to the National Weather Service forecast office here. Let's see what we've got. I'm not seeing a lot of reports on my end here or from the National Weather Service, so that's a good news with those storms, but they remain capable of some gusty winds. Down to the south of Fargo, Grand Forks storms have moved through your area and are heading towards Red Lake Falls and Thief River Falls. These could be windy, and any one of these storms could produce 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. Hi, Rich. Good to have you on board. Thanks, Ashley, for joining. What about the FM area? The storms that we're hearing rumbling are just south of us, and if you are in areas Breckenridge, Winemere and points north, this cell looks pretty strong moving towards Abercrombie. Do you see the pink cell there? That one moving off to the east towards you, we showed you just moments ago, could have that potential for some sizable hail. Movement at about 40 miles per hour, so we'll put that in, and you'll be able to see here that we'll have a risk of that thing getting close to Galchute in about 13 minutes. Let me turn on the time bar here so you can see the time. Okay, so if you're in Pitcairn, it's in 12 minutes. Galchute, 13 minutes, 20 minutes from Abercrombie, and that's the core of the hail moving its way across the region. Kent, about 23 minutes away. This one could produce some sizable hail. If you're in the area, you may want to put the car in the garage. There's no warning for it yet, but it's flirting with, I can tell you, it's flirting with severe criteria. In all likelihood, it's producing some nickel-sized hail down by the ground, but just west of the I-29 corridor is where that cell is located. So here is a look one more time at the risk area for severe weather tonight. It extends from eastern North Dakota all the way down into Iowa, and Minneapolis, St. Paul, still having terrible flooding problems. Here's the risk area from the Storm Prediction Center for our risks tonight, and then we'll go over the individual risks right quick. So this yellow area shows from Sioux Falls, where we had just terrible flooding, all the way toward Minneapolis and southern Minnesota, where we had terrible flooding, and a lot of flood warnings continue. Into Des Moines, Iowa, where we continue with flood warnings there through much of Iowa and along many river and tributaries there. We do have more heavy rain and thunderstorm risk. So the yellow area is a level 2 risk on a 5-level scale. That means we're going to see numerous thunderstorms that could become severe tonight. Large hail, damaging wind, and even tornadoes. We'll go over those risks immediately now, and you'll get a chance to see those. So here we go. The risk for, we'll start with tornadoes from the Storm Prediction Center is put at 2%. So anywhere on this map you see green, eastern North Dakota and all of Minnesota is in the green. There's a 2% risk that within 25 miles from your point on the map, you could see a tornado. It does not mean everybody's going to see a storm in this area. It just means the ingredients are there to make them, and therefore our risk of a tornado elevated. Wind, damaging straight line winds. This is a hatched area. The hatched area is a extreme or significant severe risk area. That includes Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester, Bloomington, and Plymouth. You can also see, I'll zoom into some other towns in our area, Fergus Falls. If you're out in Battle Lake, these areas have a greater risk of some very windy storms as we go through. And if we read this, the wind speed potential from tonight's significant severe storms is as pretty high. Let me go ahead and see if I can get through all of the fun. Multiple convection scenarios are possible. So the experts at the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service are saying we have multiple models telling us multiple different solutions, and any of them are possible. But what it does boil down to is because of the buoyancy or that rising energy we were showing you in the atmosphere, we're talking large to very large hail, 2-3 inches, damaging winds, and perhaps a tornado will be possible with these. So that's what we're talking about here. And let's see, sometimes they put in some wind estimates in this, but I'm going to say over 70 miles per hour with the convection that we have, or the energy we have in the air. This is going on across the country to Virginia. So the area hatched here between Fergus Falls, Alexandria, and St. Cloud, chance for some wind that could topple trees and damage property tonight. So keep that in mind. This is a look at the wind risk area. It does include Fargo, by the way, in a 15% chance of windy storms here. This is if we get storms. So if storms fire in your neck of the woods tonight, they could quickly become severe. One last look. Let's look at the hail risk with these storms tonight as we go through. These are not the ones this morning. This will be the afternoon development that happens around late afternoon to early evening. They will fire here, northwest Minnesota and the valley, and move quickly out of our area. So our risk will likely be only between, say, 3, 4 in the afternoon and about 8 at night in our area, and then they zip out of here. This is a significant risk in the hatched area. So when we take a look at this, that's a significant risk of severe hail-producing storms. And dare I say, we could see some 3-inch hailstone reports across the area tonight, particularly down along the southern edge, in my opinion, which is where the buoyancy and the lift in the atmosphere is higher. But colder air aloft could also allow for that up here in the north. So we will have a chance for some pretty buoyant air. Watching from Sabin, did not finish mowing and got rained on. Bill, I'm sorry to hear that. I feel for you. It's been one of those years we've had to dance between the rainstorms. So thanks for watching. Meteorologist Hutch Johnson here. I'll have quick updates throughout the day as needed. Severe thunderstorm warning for the Northern Valley should be all but over. Go ahead and verify that real quick, and then we'll get back to our morning and have a cup of coffee and plan out our lutefisk dinner for later today. Let me turn this nonsense off, and we'll turn the radar back on so we can see what's going on. Okay, so we have exiting showers and thunder showers moving into northwest Minnesota. We have some exiting showers moving into Polk County right now. So if you are in, say, Crookston to Fertile and Beltrami and out towards Foston, these storms are on the way to you. They could produce some burps of wind. All warnings have been canceled for these storms. Notice up north, not much in the way of lightning at all. These cells here near Mackville look to be the strongest because they have the highest intensity. Very heavy rain from these cells, maybe even some small hail from those cells, moving east at about 35 to 45 miles per hour. And then as we go south of Fargo, that's where the main event is with the thunder and lightning. These are true thunderstorms with active thunder and lightning going on, and these storms moving off to the east. Are you hearing lightning up near Grand Forks? Any at all? It's just the sky is rumbling as these storms move towards Fargo. This is heading right over Sabin and heading toward the Barnesville area and points north. That's cell 1 there, not severe, moving east at 30 miles per hour. Cell 2 moving into Abercrombie has lost a little bit of its punch, not as much pink in it. That's good news. There is some hail potential with this storm that could be producing, say, nickel-sized hail, up to around 1 inch in diameter for an isolated place or two. That's the strongest storm on the map. That should stay north of Wahpeton, by the way. So if you're in Wahpeton, you're getting a good view of that storm from south to north. That's a look at the weather. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I'll be back throughout the day with updates right here. You're watching Hutch's Weather. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for watching.